And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're tuned into the Status Network, the live TV channel, and this is the Conversation Corner with your host, the author Andrew Snorton. And let's have a conversation. As we always do every second and fourth Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we bring you some great guests doing some great things across entertainment, business, the community, and beyond. And tonight we've got three special guests that are going to share their stories of impact across those fields. But before we get into our guests, we're going to go ahead and take care of a couple station announcements, a couple public service announcements, and of course a little bit about yours truly. First off, with the Status Network, we thank you for taking time not only to watch this show, but our entire network of television and radio pieces, as well as all of our guests doing a little bit of everything across the board to bring you some great programming. The best ways to enjoy our show will be if you visit statusnetwork.net, click on channels, click on live TV, and click on the Conversation Corner. You're good to go. But it's a good idea. You might want to go ahead and make sure that you're getting the updates. So go ahead and make sure you get that as part of your updates. For those of you that have space on your smartphones, make sure to download the app Status Network. Again, the Status Network app. Click on channels, click on live TV, and you're good to go. For those of you that are social media fans, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Periscope, make sure to add the social media for both Status Network and live TV. For those of you that have Roku and Amazon Fire Stick, yes, go ahead and tune in to Status Network. And of course, if you want to go ahead and get a more personal look, make sure you add on Facebook Author Andrew Snorton, and you can also make sure to add Author A Snorton on Instagram and Twitter. Definitely make sure to do so. Oh, on YouTube, and you can also email me at authorsnorton@gmail.com. So now that we've got the network pieces over and done with, let's go ahead and go to a few of our announcements that we have so you can keep track of things that are taking place. And of course, you know it's almost holiday time, so if you want to get something that'll be a great stocking stuffer, make sure to pick up any one of my three pieces of work. Deeper Than Your Deepest Sleep, Thoughts on Love with Joseph Snorton is for you or the reader you know that enjoys poetry, looking at love through broader lenses, community, family, and more. 9 Stories of Faith, Volume 1 is for you or a reader you know who can identify living with life's biggest daily challenges, yet through the lens of faith, best practices with health and wellness, how they incorporate their support network, and how they've pivoted their thinking. They still live lives of power and purpose. But if you're someone that likes an audiobook, you definitely want to check out the author's mixtape. It was basically done in a single 2-hour recording session, 7 awesome tracks covering the wide range of topics from what gives you peace to healthcare and things along those lines. It's available for download on almost 300 platforms, but you don't have to know all 300. I would say go to iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, those along those lines. Type in the author's mixtape and you're good to go. Our next announcement. Oh, this is great for those of our viewers who are in central Illinois. We know the holidays are coming up and there's always areas of need. Check out the work of Catholic Charities and their program, the Intact Family Services Children's Program. To keep it simple, there are needs for people to serve as adopting angels or just doing a straight donation. The deadline is December 6th, and we ask that for more details, you contact Ms. Michelle Roll. The number is right there for details. Again, help spread some holiday cheer. That's for my folks in the Midwest. Our next public service announcement. Again, oh my goodness, that is me. I'm really excited to be part of a webinar series called The Cure for Education Reform. Make sure to check out my presentation, which will be on Wednesday, December 11th at 7 p.m. The title is Be Accessible and Improve Others' Access. So we'll talk a little bit about the work that's done, not only through education-based services, but press and media, and how we can be a better and more workable and reliable resource to those in need. Our next public service announcement, and this is a recap of the International Atlanta Unity Day. As you might remember, towards the end of September, they were a guest for our show. They're coming off of a great inaugural event that drew over 40 vendors from food, the arts, music, and more. There was an authors roundtable. Yes, I was fortunate enough to be part of that, but they also had a great short film festival. So shout out to the entire crew for International Atlanta Unity Day that took place at the AEI Startup Factory back on November 16th. Our next announcement is. The Atlanta Association of Black MBAs has their big time holiday soiree taking place. It's going to be on Friday, December 13th from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. Again, a great way to break out the cocktail hour dresses and attire, things along those lines. But you definitely want to make sure it's wintertime, bundle up. But the sounds of DJ Tron and, of course, Atlanta favorite Grits and Jelly Butter. So make sure to check it out and help support their toy drive. Our next public service announcement. Oh my goodness, y'all remember it get kind of cold in here the last time we were here. As you remember from our show, November 13th, members of the Sigma Eta Lambda chapter, which is Loganville, Conyers, Georgia, of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Remember, December 14th, they have their Black Ice Affair. It's a day party, ladies and gentlemen, so from 2 to 6 p.m. If you want to break out the ugly sweaters, you can, but if not, you just break out a great mindset, attitude, things along those lines. $20 per person, $35 for a pair, and of course a portion of the proceeds are helping support the ABC2 project, where they will actually go out to some of the Metro Atlanta children's hospitals to do deliveries of stuffed animals and just spend time visiting with our young people who might be amongst the sick and shut in, as well as giving a lift to their families. So great work by the Alphas. Our next public service announcement. Oh my goodness, and this is going to close out our public service announcements. As you're aware, Creative Community Solutions is kind of the affiliated work that I'm doing here. Yes, we have education-based services. As you see in the upper right-hand corner, those are some of the brilliant young men we're able to tutor and coach, especially for those ACTs and SATs. But it's more than just education. We have been able to cover a little bit of everything, and this summer and this fall, we were able to do coverage of minor league baseball, so that Nothing Minor series. We've also covered the alma mater, Wake Forest University, for football, and this past Sunday, November 17th, we were really excited to cover the Atlanta Gladiators hockey game. It was a thrilling game because that was their fourth game in 4 days, but they squeezed out a 4-3 victory. So you definitely want to catch the great ice action. And this is going to be a good bridge and segue to our first interview. As, of course, when you go to a hockey game, you've got to make sure you check out the voice of the Atlanta Gladiators. So we're excited to have our first in-studio guest, Ira Liebman, who is the voice of the Atlanta Gladiators. Ira, how are you doing this evening?
I'm all right, Andrew. How are you?
Hey, doing great, doing great. It's been so long. It just seems like it was just, I don't know. It really was a couple days ago since we last caught up. So, Ira, for our viewers, give our viewers a little bit of your background, where you're from, and when did you first get interested in the sport of hockey?
I think I've always been kind of interested in sports in general. I grew up on Long Island, kind of the same time that you were in New Jersey. We have a hockey team. You don't. Sorry, Andrew. Growing up, sorry, I had to get the New Jersey dig in there from a New Yorker. But I was a big Islanders fan growing up. It was, during the best part of the franchise's history, the 4 straight Stanley Cups, and grew up a Yankee fan and a Knicks fan, and unfortunately a Jets fan. But sports were always huge. Playing hockey in the street when it was cold outside. Playing baseball in the summer. It was just, there was always sports around.
So in other words, like you said, not only has sports been a part of who you are, but I hear you, that little trash talking piece is a little bit part of you as well. So walk through with our viewers. You have this great love for sports. Growing up in Long Island, like you said, you have all the major sports right there. Describe to our viewers, what was your draw to take your love of sports to the next level?
Kind of an interesting story. I think every broadcaster, probably even yourself, has a very unique story. It's not like a regular job where, you go in, you apply for a job, and you get it. It doesn't really work that way in broadcasting. My story was I was in retail electronics for years, just kind of wandering, didn't really like a lot of it. I was a manager, I was a rep, I was a salesperson, and the rep is the cushiest job in the electronics business. I worked for Bose, was kind of the short end of the story, and I had to do these announcements. And then people were like, "Hey, who's doing the announcements back then?" I was like, "It's me." They're like, "No, that's not you." I was like, "Yes, it's me." And like, "You got a good voice." And much like you, I was really into music. I played the drums for years because I knew I couldn't sing, and nor did anybody want to hear me sing. So, I never thought for a minute I had a voice at all, no chance. And after I kind of discovered when I was doing those announcements that I had a voice, and it was like a miracle, like, it was like a gift from God. I mean, here it was. It wasn't, 15 finding this out. I was in, my late 20s. And then I thought, I was a little hesitant to pursue it. I finally did. I went to work for probably, one of the biggest sports talk stations in the nation's WFAN, where
Yes.
Mad Dog had their great show, which they did a 30-30 on ESPN recently. I was an intern there. And then it was still a matter of getting on the air. I went to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. So they have one right here in Atlanta. And, went to the baseball winter meeting somebody told me to go to. And I went there 3 years in a row, and just super amount of persistence, which was probably my best quality. I made like 300 phone calls a year trying to get into baseball. I finally did. And then, I worked from Lynchburg, Virginia, which was the Pittsburgh Pirates affiliate at the time. I went to Visalia, California, which is actually mentioned in 2 baseball movies, and Moneyball and in Bull Durham. And that was my first voice of. I was the voice of the Visalia Oaks, the Visalia Rawhide, now the Diamondbacks affiliate. Then I went to Texas for a little while. I worked for 2 different teams in Texas. Worked for a Colorado team. Came back to Texas. Then went to Sugar Land, Texas, which was a big break. I spent the last 7 years there, and while I was there was a hockey team that came about, so I worked there for a few years, and then got the opportunity to work here in Atlanta, and jumped at it.
And I think it's great that you're sharing your journey, because some people feel like, okay, if I don't do it at a certain time, it's not going to happen. But like you said, part of what you shared with your journey was patience, persistence, being dedicated to your craft. And
I was the special page of interns. I was a 37-year-old intern. So.
Wow. And I'm glad you're saying that, because like I said, some people think, well, you can only get in at certain windows, but it was one of those. Sometimes it's not a matter, at what age or what season. It's more so, do you get in? And even in sharing your journey, you've covered a lot of ground. You've seen and gone different spaces and places that people might only read about. And I think we forget, like you're alluding to, when you're covering sports, you cover a whole lot of ground.
When I was in Houston, I had the Rockets PA announcer on, and I said to him, does everybody say what they say to me? Hey, I can do what you do. And he said, yeah, everybody says that. Then he had the greatest answer ever. He goes, it seems easy because I work hard at it, and you do, and so do you. And they don't see the 2 hours of prep time where you watch in practice, or all the game notes you read, the rosters, the research you do. They just see your 60 minutes on the air or your 3-hour game, and I think, well, anybody who sits on a bar stool thinks that they can talk sports, that they can be a broadcaster. It took a lot. It took a lot to be able to recognize my own voice. It turned a lot to listening to your own demo tape to get better, to get feedback from professionals and Hall of Famers. It takes a lot of prep work. It takes talking to coaches. I mean, it takes years of really getting good at it. And anybody could turn on a mic and be on the air, but it doesn't make you a broadcaster.
And I'm glad you shared that, because in covering more sports this year, like you said, people don't understand you're there hours before it even starts, and you're researching whatever stats, game notes, what trends are happening, who you're going to isolate. And then, there's pregame, postgame. Like, I know I'm doing a smaller segment compared to the work that you're doing, and you're not only in game, you're also doing radio. Walk through with our viewers, I'll say, a combination of the preparation, but also being able to be fluid and being just as seamless if you're on the mic or if you're on camera or things along those lines.
Well, backing up a little bit further, I mean, my job there isn't just the broadcaster. I'm the communications and media manager. I do press release, I do the website, I do marketing, I do sales. So, I have a normal 9-to-5 job before any of that even starts. So my day is 12 to 14 hours by the time it ends. When most people's day end, I'm getting ready for the broadcast at 5 to 7 o'clock is the broadcast. Between 5 and 7, I'm getting a pregame interview with a player or a coach. I'm studying the opposing game notes. I'm doing my game notes. You're looking at rosters. In hockey, you're memorizing the roster. In baseball, you don't really have to. You can just kind of look down at your chart on your scorebook, and that doesn't exist in hockey. You gotta know the numbers. You gotta know the players. You gotta know the names to the numbers, and that takes time, and getting to know the players and kind of the tendencies. Talking to coaches about why is this guy hot or why is this guy in a slump. I mean, all that preparation makes you sound polished on the air, but until you do that, and if you didn't do that, you'd stumble through 3 hours of a broadcast, and you've heard those guys, and you notice it. And when you prepare for it, it becomes a lot easier. And it sounds like it's not easy. I mean, I played track in high school, but Carl Lewis was the fastest man in the world, and when Carl Lewis ran the 100, it looked effortless. It didn't look like he was straining because he knows how to run. He knew how to relax his muscles. He did all that work. So when he ran the 100 meters in under 10 seconds, which in that day and age was unheard of, it looked like he wasn't even trying. And it's the same way when you get ready for things, when you get ready for a broadcast. It feels like, he's just talking. Like, I could do that. Well, not until you've studied for 3 hours, not until you've done 1,400 games live, when all that experience comes into play. I mean, there are some things that come natural to me. A lot of people say that you're very descriptive, and I like listening to you on the air. That kind of came naturally to me. I had to learn what to describe, and that didn't come naturally. You can talk about the green grass. That's not interesting. You got to talk about the way the batter is standing, or how the hockey play developed to get to that goal, and you kind of set the whole story in motion. Otherwise, it becomes a boring game.
And you said a lot right there, but I think the biggest thing, and I think it's great that you're stressing these universal themes. Preparation is the key. Patience is definitely the key, and persistence definitely is the key. Now, with the Atlanta Gladiators, real briefly, describe to our viewers, just for people who aren't familiar with the game of hockey, if you could, what makes hockey, really such the sport that it is?
I always say this because I grew up I was a big Knicks fan in the 80s. I was, the whole Patrick Ewing era and all that. I say it's probably the most talented sport that there is. It's like basketball on skates. So you take all the athletic skills they have and you put guys on skates. You put a baseball player on skates. They always talk about the hardest thing in sports, is to hit a baseball round bat, round ball. Well, come to a hockey practice. Look at the speed these guys are going. I was watching practice today, and one of our forwards came in full speed 3 feet before the net. He stopped. I didn't know how he didn't kill himself, let alone come to a complete stop and die. I mean, these guys are incredible athletes. You can't be an over the hill veteran, designated hitter who's got a big gut in hockey. It doesn't work. You've got to continually maintain being in shape. You've got to have speed. You've got to be able to skate. You've got to do all those things at a high level. And that's why, much like soccer, you get old early. Usually by your 30s, you're washed up. You're one of the elites.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ira, you have given us a lot of insight, not only regarding your professional journey, but looking at the attention to detail, the dedication to the craft, things along those lines. So as we get ready to wind down your segment, let our viewers know what are the best ways to stay engaged and connected with the great action that comes with going to an Atlanta Gladiators game.
I mean, the best thing I think, which most people say about hockey, is it's so much more fun live. Come out to a game. We play at the Infinite Energy Arena. It's easy to get to. You do not have to go through downtown traffic. We're in the suburbs. It's cake getting in. It's free parking. We have a different promotion every night, anything from DC Comics night to Zombie night. We have a new promotion. Glads win, you win. If we win, everybody gets a free ticket to another game. It's a fun, friendly, affordable entertainment. You're not going to go to a game and drop $500 like you might at a major sporting event. It's got a lot. And, on top of all those promotional activities, there's a pretty good game going on, as you saw on Sunday. So it's really a fun sport. And if you ever watch hockey even occasionally, or the Olympics, which is probably my favorite, you'll love it live. These guys are pros. They're 2 steps below the NHL. This is, if you're a baseball fan, and even in hockey, they call it the AA Premier League. This is the AA of hockey. The next level is the AHL, and from there you're in the NHL. So, there are guys that are going to get there one day from our teams.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ira, first off, with all your moving parts, thank you for taking and making the time tonight. Not only sharing your professional story, you've definitely dropped some words of wisdom and encouragement for people who are thinking about going this route. But on top of that, when they go ahead and check out the great action of the Atlanta Gladiators, now all of a sudden they can recognize the voice of the Gladiators. So Ira, thank you so much for taking and making the time. Best wishes. I'll look forward to hopefully seeing you at a future game. So I'm just putting that plug out there. Shameless plug. Looking forward to working at a future game. And what we're going to do at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick pause for our commercial break. And we come back, we'll bring in the first of our in-studio guests. So this is the Conversation Corner with your host, the author, Andrew Snorton. And ladies and gentlemen, we are back on the Conversation Corner with your host, author Andrew Snorton, and we are here in studio with our very first in-studio guest. We have Ms. Jae Nash. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
You know, I'm doing great. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
You are.
Yes, I sure am. So, Jae, for our viewers, give our viewers a little bit of a point of reference, where you're from and where you're based out of.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Indianapolis, Indiana. I've moved to Atlanta 7 years ago from Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay, Music City.
Music City. I love it there. It's beautiful. I love it here too.
Yeah, Nashville, but good little escape. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So walk through with our viewers a little bit about your professional background, because when we say media can be so big and vast. But walk through with our viewers the aspects of media that you're working with.
Yeah, so I'm currently a radio personality here in Atlanta on the People Station B103. Just recently, I was a part of auditioning for the morning show, The Morning Culture, which is really cool. Been in radio, for about 13 years. I started in Atlanta working at a pop station, a Churban station, 95.5 The Beat, before they switched over to News Talk. And I realized that I had a passion for talking.
Really? Wait. A person that has a passion for talking. You mean those people exist?
Yes, like you and I, we really do exist.
Really? We have that passion?
Not everybody can have a conversation with people you don't know.
You know what? You make a very valid point.
Yeah, and not everyone can be in a room by themselves and talking to themselves as a radio personality.
I would have to concur. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So it's great. So you have the experience with pop radio. Mm-hmm. Right now you're doing some great work with V103. But I know within the realm of media there's more. So walk through with our viewers some of the other areas that you're able to tap into.
Yeah, so, in addition to being an on-air personality, I created my own platform, Girl Power Hour Outreach, and Girl Power Hour Radio. Girl Power Hour Radio is really a platform for women. It's built to create, we needed a platform for us to talk about issues that we face. We needed a safe space. And so Girl Power Hour Radio is a safe space for women.
And I'm glad you mentioned safe space, because we hear it across the board, not only like, for example, when you think about areas of concern in education or nonprofits or what have you, even in a professional forum or a professional setting, you still need those constructive outlets to be able to decompress and sometimes have those unfiltered conversations.
Absolutely.
So walk through with us, like some of those origins. Would you say that it was a combo of finding out of other people's experiences, personal experiences, or a little bit of both?
It's a little bit of both. For me, it was women, we go through so much, and not only that, we hold in so much, and it's a part of healing. And so for me, I know I had to go through my own personal journey of healing, and I wanted to tote a few women on with me. So I ended up saying, okay, well, the radio platform that I created, I'm just going to create a book out of it. And so I had some of the women who had told stories. African-American woman on Wall Street, the only African-American woman in the room. And she talked about how her counterparts never really addressed her being a black woman and a minority in the room. And so not only are we black women, but we're also women who are considered the minority. So it's, for me, it was about us addressing issues, us healing, us coming all together and just really just encouraging each other. That's that girl power. We need that.
And you said a lot right there, and we sometimes forget, through the lens of gender, through the lens of ethnic background, and there's other, demographic pieces that people, like you said earlier, you need a safe space to just go ahead, and you're peeling back the layers.
Yeah.
It's not the professional, it's you, the person, and looking at what can be that cathartic release. And now that you've had that release, what are some constructive things that can come from it?
Well, one is just healing. That to me is the most important part of, going through a process of just trying to find yourself. We have to sometimes re-identify who we are. And with that, it's a process. And so, a lot of us want to just take the microwave route. We think, hey, we can just get there automatically. And it really does take time. And so with that time, it's about processing it, understanding it, taking accountability for it, and whatever it is that you were a part of. And then overall just heal through that process. So it's not just me who has gone through this. There are other people who have gone through this. And then we can break the generational curse for our children to come.
And that's huge, like you said before. And it's also providing access to resources. So you have, Girl Power. It's Girl Power Incorporated, correct?
Yes, Girl Power Hour.
Girl Power Hour. And from that, like you said before, it's a byproduct of that work where now all of a sudden the book has come into place.
Yes.
Walk through a little bit with our viewers, really, well, we kind of already know the importance of the book because it's an extension of the work, but really reinforce how this can be a great resource for others.
Well, absolutely. There are over 23 stories, different women in the book, and everybody's story is pretty much different. It's a situation where I personally felt that if I just couldn't do it alone, I needed other women to be on the journey with me. And for us to be able to go through this process, it was trying times. I think we all pretty much cried and healed through the whole process.
Really?
We did.
Wait, you mean grown women actually shed a tear?
Listen,
that really happens?
We had to remove the cape one way or the other.
Wait, in other words, I thought you kept that cape on, 25 hours, 8 days a week?
Oh my goodness, listen, ladies, it's okay. It's okay for you to take off the Superwoman cape. You can retire the cape if you want to. We need to make sure, we just need a better understanding of ourselves and know that we can't do it alone. And so out of that, it was about not just me, but my daughter. I have a 13-year-old, and I wanted to make sure that I was able to break the generational curse in my family by making sure that my daughter had the resources. So, if that healing takes place or if we need therapy is okay. It's, a lot of people, or at least within my family, it was never taught that therapy.
And I'm going to pause you there because I know when we've had different guests on, and I know even with the book I wrote, 9 Stories of Faith, there's a chapter that focuses on that mental health piece. And I think what you said was so powerful. Even though there's a growing recognition that, hey, this is a constructive way, I know growing up it was like, don't talk to him, he's crazy. Yes. Something's wrong with him. And you kind of chuckled, but it's not really a laughing matter. And I think one of the phrases, it's okay to let people know you're not okay, and to go ahead, there's no shame in seeking out help, regardless of people who have spoken about it before, or you speaking about it, or other guests. It's a message that still needs to be stressed. So
absolutely.
Please, again, reinforce to our viewers what you said earlier, the importance of it's okay to get the help that you need.
It's okay to get therapy. It's okay if you're grieving. It's okay to see a grief counselor. If you are going through some, a lot of people are facing with schizophrenic, bipolar. A lot of people are misdiagnosed. And so it's in order for you to just get through and make it on the other side of the rainbow, it's okay for you to go and see a therapist. That's what their job is. Their job is to help you get through a process of better understanding, and not only that, just equip you with the tools that can help you in the long run in order for you to say, hey, I am at a better place mentally. I mean, and not only that, what I'm starting to see a lot now with Black and brown people is I'm starting to see that a lot of people are resorting to, hey, some kind of therapy. I mean, I don't care what kind of therapy is. I do see a lot of people, especially on social media, who are really, pushing forward for the movement and making sure that they can heal and get help.
And I think the key thing is having that conversation. And again, it ties in with some of the themes you talked about earlier. When you establish a safe space, now people feel that they're willing to take that next step to say, hey, look, this is what I'm living with, or this is what I'm struggling with. and knowing that there's other people in that space that are there to lend support and encouragement, and how do we redirect people in order to getting the help and support they need.
Absolutely.
So it's great that you are sharing this and helping, share for other people's experiences. And I know with your book, refresh my memory, it was released this summer, correct?
It was released out July.
Okay.
We released it in July. Girl Power Uncensored. It's raw, it's unfiltered, and it's our individual stories, and we told those stories our way.
And that is huge. And I think, like you said before, the operative phrase is unfiltered and sharing a narrative which needs to be shared. And like I said before, having had other individuals who have written before talk about important and critical narratives. I know upcoming guests are going to speak about critical narratives, and even if it's something that other people in theory have approached, people can't approach it the way that you can. I think that's something that's real important for our viewers to understand. Look, you're actually helping capture a segment of stories and speaking to an audience that other people aren't able to.
Yes.
And that's what makes it so important. So I'm like, the more the merrier. So now you've got, for our viewers, you have this big set of tools and resources that you can use and tap into.
Yeah.
So here we've got it. Radio, advocacy with the book. There's a lot of community outreach that you are doing. And it kind of feeds off of, especially when we talked about in our previous show, stewardship and outreach. What are some things that are on the horizon as we're getting ready, real knee deep in the holiday season? What are some things that are on the horizon, especially whether through the lens of what you're doing book-wise or community outreach, that people can kind of, get on board with and get involved with?
Yeah, so last year we took a trip to Haiti to give back. We do a service trip every year through my nonprofit, Girl Power Outreach, and it's really about giving back to the needy. It's really about instilling hope in young girls. And again, it's all about that generational curse and breaking it to let them know that you too can be successful, you too can be great. And so that's one of the initiatives that we're going to be running. Giving Tuesday is coming up really soon. And so, Girl Power Outreach, we're doing a lot of footwork. And not only that, I do a lot of partnerships with a lot of nonprofits as well. So it's not just about my own personal nonprofit. It's also about being a service to someone else that's out there. And so, on a weekly basis, I am out in the field at the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah,
you
stay. I mean,
Tell me about
I keep track, and I just pause and I just breathe, and I'm just like, okay, people talk about me being out there, but ladies and gentlemen, there are people that are out there more than I am. Not saying I'm not out there, but I'll put it like this: I'm probably running it like, I don't know, like a jogger's pace. This one right here, you're on like the moped and the yet to be released cross trainers and all 5,100 other things. I'm just sitting here like, yes.
There's a lot in it, but I have an incredible team. And so I can't do it alone. I have a wonderful team who back me up. And, I get out there when I can. I support whenever I can, whenever I have that downtime. And in between that downtime, I'm taking my daughter. So she can actually see, because she has a better life than I have right now. When I was growing up, it was the struggle, and so now she doesn't even know what the struggle is like. So it's about letting her get out there and give back and feed the homeless. We go out and we feed the homeless every quarterly. They kind of broke. We can't do it as much as we used to because of some.
I know one of
story.
my good friends and frat brothers is like, he's for the last 10, 12 years, usually that week of Thanksgiving, and there's a couple.
They shut us down.
I'm not gonna confirm or deny. We're just gonna say it. The paradigm looks a little bit different from what it used to.
Okay.
And we're just gonna keep it that simple.
That's simple.
I'm not naming any names, but I'm just saying.
I love how you really paraphrase. That's good.
Well, when you do this, and like you said before, when you like. Hey, you said it earlier. When you like to talk, even though I'm really quiet on most occasions, but you put a microphone and it's a wrap.
It's this is definitely you.
Really?
Yeah.
You think?
Oh my goodness, you just had a whole opening, and there's no notes in front of you.
Well, it all started once upon a time. My mama and my daddy, they really did. But I mean, reading and writing and all those things are it's a byproduct of it. And I think it's like you said before. Especially here when you're able to talk with and listen to and share and exchange, and you want to make sure people who are watching have some type of positive takeaways. seed planting. You never know the next radio personality or the next author or the next person who's setting up a nonprofit. You just don't know. So you don't take it lightly. And like when you think about what Ira was saying earlier, it's about practice, preparation, being patient. Because I can tell you, this didn't happen overnight. It sure did.
Oh no.
So as we get ready,
marathon.
to wind down your segment, we're going to bring you back for the recap. Let our viewers know what are some of the best ways that they can engage, connect, and support the good work that you're doing.
I would just suggest that you go over to Instagram is really big for us. It's your own personal website. Take advantage of it. Girl Power Outreach is on there. You can just look us up. We have a link in our bio. You can see all of the different things that we're doing. It takes you right to our website, which is girlpoweroutreach.com. I am official JaeNash.com. You can follow some of the things that I'm doing. And there is a balance, you know. Hey, you got work, play, and give back. And so, you know, you got to create that balance in order for you to just be successful in this industry, because it will wear you down.
Really?
Yes.
Well, that will be another conversation for another day. Jay, like I said before, thank you so much. We'll bring you back when we do the group recap. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and take our commercial break, and we come back. Not only, this is like the literary corner today, because we have another powerful author doing some powerful work. So we'll be right back in just a few moments on the Conversation Corner. And ladies and gentlemen, we are back on the Conversation Corner, and tonight's show is taking on a powerful literary theme. We already had one powerful author, and if that didn't blow you away, this one right here, oh my goodness, we have Tori Vogt, the author. How are you doing?
I am fantastic, Andrew. How are you?
I am doing great, and my goodness, all I can say is you have been, since you have worn the author hat, you have been definitely moving and shaking. Give our viewers a little bit of a background in regards to where you're from and where you're based out of.
Sure. So I've called Atlanta home for the last 15 years. I moved here with my children from Philadelphia, where I had moved for college and ended up finishing school and starting a family there. But Atlanta is my home.
Okay, so now it's like if you stayed in Atlanta for a certain number of years, you're like official. So you're like official Metro Atlanta.
I'm like, why did I move here sooner?
So walk through with our viewers a little bit of your professional journey in regards to some of the great work you're doing professionally, as well as what you're doing community-wise, because you've got your hands in a couple of good constructive areas.
Sure. So, you know, my day job, and I wear several hats, is I work in corporate America. And for the last several years, I've rolled out international programs using a specific technology platform. So STEAM, Girl Power. Never thought I would end up in technology. I am a humanities person. Started out in marketing and public relations. Got people international, national press, media coverage. Marketed everything from potato chips to specialty physician services, bariatric surgery, right?
Okay.
And just adopted technology in my work and ended up getting recruited into that space. Really enjoy it. It's challenging. It just goes to show you where you started. Doesn't necessarily have to be where you end up. And very, very blessed, because not only am I a first-generation college graduate, I am a first-generation high school graduate.
Oh, wow.
So given that, that was part of the impetus for writing my book, because, you know, to whom much is given, much is required.
And I'm going to pause you there. Repeat that one more time, please.
To whom much is given, much is required.
And I think that is a good launching point for talking about your work, which has been extremely well received, very powerful. So walk through with our viewers the work that you're doing with your book.
Sure. So July of this year, I published a book called You Got This, Letters to My Younger Self. It rose to #1 in Amazon in 2 categories, while yet in pre-sale. And one of the categories was adult and teen bullying. The impetus for the book took place about a year prior. It was Father's Day of 2017, and I got a call. I was in Hilton Head that my best friend had died suddenly at the age of 46. We knew each other when we were both struggling single moms back in Philadelphia. And she had been a lifelong friend. I have an MBA, but I always used to tell her, you know how to make money. They didn't teach me how to make money in business school, but you're from the streets. She came here from Puerto Rico with her mom and sisters. They were migrant workers in New Jersey and picked blueberries. She had to learn to speak English, but she far exceeded where I felt I wanted to be. And so she was always a loyal and trusted friend, very healthy. She had been here a few months prior in February at the Bonner Brothers show.
Okay.
And didn't expect that to happen. And then 4 days later, I got called into my office and was laid off from my dream job that I had been on for 2 years. My entire team was wiped away. And so I was just devastated. I was crushed. And all I kept hearing God say is, what else do I have to take from you to get you to do what I told you?
Wow. And that's really powerful what you said, because a number of our guests have talked about where that setback was really more of a setup for where you were supposed to go or where you were needed. So walk through with our viewers that journey, and especially with the work that you're doing through your book.
Sure. So I was scared. I was mourning. I was grieving. I needed income. That suddenly had gone away. And I, for the first time, found myself in a very dark place, a place of anxiety and depression, mourning and grief, all at the same time. And I was so lost. And in the past, I had been very resilient. I've gone through a lot in my life, even from childhood, a lot of epics, traumatic events. And like people say, most people don't go through one of these in a lifetime. You've lived through 9. But for the first time, I couldn't rebound. I couldn't even open my computer to work on my resume to find another job. I was just stuck and frozen. My palms were sweaty and tingling, and there was butterflies in the bottom of my stomach, and I couldn't sleep, or I overslept. So I knew I had to fight my way out of it, because I still needed to, at least work, keep a roof over my head.
Right.
So God blessed me, and I was able to start working again within a month, transitioned over to another position, which was a very great and noble position. I was able to take the skill set that I had and to help launch an online community for cancer researchers based in the United States. So it was a huge downgrade in many ways. I had in the past run global international programs, and it was a huge salary cut. So just adjusting to everything, and I'm still scared and frightened and dark, and I'm going home alone, and I don't know if I only have a year to live or 6 months to live or 2 months to live, just like my best friend, because there was no indication. She died suddenly, and it just really put a time stamp on life. And even now, working again in the cancer space, which I had done healthcare marketing for 14 years, and I had helped to market an oncology service line. But that's a reminder, and like one of my mentors told me, she was a woman who I interviewed with when I got first hired with that health system years ago, is she said, cancer is not a death sentence. It's just a reminder to start living. And so I keep hearing God say, when are you going to write that book? When are you going to write these books I've been telling you to write?
Right.
And, even what I felt was my lowest time, my younger self would look at me and say, girl, you got it made. Look what you have done. You have raised children. You've raised children as a single mother and defied the odds, okay? You have gotten a college degree. You've gotten an MBA. You have served on the board of directors for a museum. You've led your alumni association for a major university. All not even, you're a first generation high school graduate. And so I was asking God, well, where do I start? Where do I begin? And so what he told me is that, people have always seen the polished and glossy side of you.
Wow.
And nobody knows your story.
And I'm glad you say that. That's a theme that we have said with just about any guest, whether it's through the lens of them being an author or singer, or even what you heard, earlier today, people see you where you are, but they don't know what you've been led through in order to get there. So please, again, with some of those themes that you're able to talk about in your book.
Sure. So, again, being like, to whom much is given, much is required. And I'm thinking, what do I have to give people? And I'm thinking, my life is just ordinary. I don't think it's anything special. But, thinking, okay, what is it that people need right now? Where are the pain points? Where are people hurting? And where can I bring value? Always thinking like a marketer. Where's the need and where can I bring value, right? So I'm thinking and hearing about all these people that are in pain, like you see the rash and the epidemic of suicides among young African American males.
Yes.
That was unheard of when I was in high school. And even, it's just still so very bizarre to me. Here is someone at the prime of their life, haven't even begun life, with so much energy and so much potential and so much promise. And what is making them feel like life is not worth living? And then you look at the other end of the spectrum, people who are highly successful and who've made it in life in their careers, like the Kate Spades of the world, or the Anthony Bourdains, or one of my very favorite people is a singer from the UK, Amy Winehouse. And I was so moved and hurt and torn, when she passed away. And it wasn't a direct suicide, but she was suffering. And so, my mother was an alcoholic, and I learned that I also had some addictive behaviors by overeating. And as you may know, I lost 90 pounds between March of 2018. I was on my weight loss journey when this whole thing with my best friend passing and losing my job happened. So I continued the journey, ended up losing 90 pounds in 9 months. Didn't have bariatric surgery. I did a program with a naturopath. But what I learned and what I shared with my doctors was never about the weight. When people are soothing, we are seeking comfort from pain. And I found that, I'm no better than the alcoholic that's using meth or crack, or someone that's soothing through alcohol or gambling, or even I realized that my indulging in overachieving in every area of my life, mothering, career, service, that it was a form of addiction. Even things that can be positive or good thing, if they're used in excess or for the wrong purpose, can be an addiction. So with all of these epiphanies that I'm gaining, these light bulbs going off in this process, Source, God, Universe is showing me this is where you can bring value and give back to people. At the same time, people that know me, who've seen me throughout the years, people I work with started coming up to me, contacting me, asking me, we see you losing this weight. How are you doing it? What's going on? And so as I begin to have conversations with people, they started opening up to me and sharing with me their pain, their traumas, things that they had never shared with anyone. And it really gripped me. It blew my mind, because it was people I never expected. And I'm like, I never went to school to be a therapist, a counselor. What is this gift that you've given me, God, this mission? And people from all walks of life, men and women, young and old. And so that's when the mission and the vision began to unfold. This is where, Tori, you can bring value. So I started to write a book, which is coming out in the spring of 2020, and it's called You Don't Have to Stay There, 6 Lessons from a Trauma Survivor. But I knew that it was going to take me some time to put that book together, and I'm still feeling this sense of urgency, this reminder of I could be like my best friend and pass away any day. And so I'm like, if I only have 6 months to live, or 2 months, or 2 weeks, what is it, God, that I can go to market with quickly and leave to help people, leave a legacy, something that will go on and continue to help people based on all of the need that I'm seeing and the areas where I know that I can bring value, where I've already started helping people by sharing back and forth parts of my story.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what. and you've covered a lot of ground with what you're doing with your first release, which is why it's being so well received. And I know people are anticipating that second one. So what we're going to do before we pause and do our group recap and our quick break, please let our viewers know the best ways to connect and engage with you.
Sure. So again, the book that just came out this year is called You Got This, Letters to My Younger Self. So that was the format that the divine gave me. And it's the best way for people to connect with me are on social media platforms. I'm on Facebook as @Tori Inspires You, and my Instagram is Bold Breakthrough with a U, BoldBreakthru. My books are available both on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. You can type in You Got This and Tori Vogt, and you'll be able to find them, or just come on over to one of my social media channels.
Okay, so I tell you what, powerful show tonight, really, seriously. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to take a very brief commercial break. We're going to bring back our two in-studio guests for our recap. So again, this is the Conversation Corner with your host, Andrew Snorton. And ladies and gentlemen, we are back as we get close to the end of the show. I tell you what, it's been a very powerful show, as all of our shows have been. Like I said before, we make sure to bring in quality people doing quality things. I think, one of the themes that I've heard tonight has really been, and we've mentioned it before, but I don't mind repeating again, perseverance. Yes. Tori, real briefly, emphasize for our viewers what perseverance means to you.
It means to get up every day. If it means you can't even stand up, if it means you got to roll, any minor effort to move forward every day, just keep moving forward. If you got to crawl, sometimes it just means standing up, leaning forward, but just keep pushing forward every day.
That's huge. Jae, can you help build upon that?
Wow, that was good. Just keep pressing forward in life, in love, in light, and just know that you're not alone. There are other people who are going through what you are going through. There's some people who have gone through way worse than what you've gone through, and you have to beat the odds. There's people like us that's rooting for you.
Definitely huge. Another thing, and I think about it, is people always, think there's an ideal time to do something. And though Ira talked about it earlier in his journey, he got on board late, relatively speaking. And, all of us here, like, arguably we could have written sooner, but we wrote when it was the right time. Jae, emphasize to our viewers, it's when the time is right, it's going to happen. Walk us through that.
Absolutely. When the time is right, you will know. You will know when the time is right, because everything will be aligned up for you. When I started my book, I kept putting it off for years and years, and I just had to go into a place of just solace and realize that it's time. Jae, why do you keep putting this off? So when it's your time and it's time to make that move, that approach will be different. You have a story. You get the butterflies in your gut, like, hey, it's really time for me to get it out. And then you have to pay attention. Sometimes we don't pay attention to the signs, and God is telling us, it's your time, go. I can lead you to the water, but I can't make you drink. And so when it's your time, just go for it. When you feel that it's that need, it's that urge, and hey, you want to make your voice heard, that's when it's your time to make it happen.
That's powerful. Tori.
So, like the title of my book says, you got this. So it doesn't matter if you're 15, 16, 17, you have everything that you need right now to be successful in life. A lot of times people lack confidence at a younger age. I know I did. I could have started writing books in high school. My teachers told me I could write professionally, had no idea, thought I didn't have enough money, didn't come from the right family, needed more education, needed to know certain people. Just do it. Whatever people are telling you that you're good at, that's probably your gifting. And so just start doing it. Even if you've got, like if it's a book, if you don't have a computer, start writing it out with paper, dictate it into your phone. Just start doing it, and then the resources will manifest, the doors will open. But just start, do it now. Don't be afraid. If you're afraid, do it anyway. You have everything you need to accomplish your purpose and your mission.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So as
Great
we
advice.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So as we get close to winding down, Tori, remind our viewers the best ways they can connect, engage, keep track of your upcoming work, and lend you support.
Sure. So Facebook is a great way, and I'm at Tori Inspires You. That's TORIINSPIRESYOU. Or on Instagram, Bold Breakthrough, which is the name of my publishing company, BOLDBREAKTHRU. Bold Breakthrough with a U.
Okay, and Jay, remind our viewers the best ways that they can stay connected, engage, and lend you continued support.
Absolutely. Official Jae Nash. And you can also follow me on Instagram at I am Jae Nash, because I am Jae Nash.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We hope that you have definitely enjoyed tonight's show. I know I have.
I have too.
I have too. I mean,
Yeah.
really,
Amazing.
whether virtual, and shouts to Ira again for sharing his journey. Hopefully all of you are having some positive takeaways from not only our guests tonight, but all of our guests. And remember, this is our second year doing this. So as we get ready to close out, a couple of quick reminders. Remember, we air every second and fourth Wednesday, 7 p.m., Stas Network Live TV. So next time you can catch us will be December 11th. Please don't let this be the last time you connect with our guests, not only tonight, but any of our show guests. And on that note, I think what we'll do is we'll close out. Since we're in the book theme, we're going to go ahead and close out with the audiobook info on my end. Take care, happy Thanksgiving, and we will see you next time. This is author Andrew Snorton, and today's project is the Author's Mixtape Volume 1, From H to O, looking at things a little bit differently compared to other poetry and spoken word pieces. This is done in partnership with Third Level Entertainment Music Group, and the way we did our spoken word is a little bit different. What you're about to hear is purely organic. In other words, the topics were picked, given to me. Then I had 10 minutes to come up with something, and they had 10 minutes to come up with instrumentals. You'll hear 2 instrumental tracks and 4 traditional tracks. So sit back, relax, take it all in, and remember, this is the first of what'll be soon to come, the Author's Mixtape.